a town hall different from Bela Blue, Gulaba.
PDP has brought us shame.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. No matter where you stand, one of these will be Nigeria's reality after 25th of February 2023. But for the voters who are undecided and have refused to be sentimental with their decisions, the question is, who is the good? Whose victory will be bad? And what scenario will be considered ugly for the largest black nation come 25th? Let's go find out.
The immediate arrest, disqualification, Atiku Abubakar.
There are three frontrunners for the top job in Nigeria. One, a seasoned career politician, usually hailed as a kingmaker for his role in installing the current administration of Muhammadu Buhari, which arguably everyone, including the ruling party, have agreed is a failed administration. Wait, you think I'm making this up? Check this out.
Ama
70-year-old Bela Tinubu, who has often hailed himself as the man behind the economic success of Lagos State, Nigeria's largest city, has been hailed as a master strategist by many of his supporters. A simple glance through history and you will see why. While Tinubu's political journey started in 1992, his game of monopoly and absolute control of the southwest region of the country started in 1999. Here's what I mean. After 2 terms in office as governor from 1999 to 2007, Tinubu installed favored candidates as successors in Lagos. Every governor that has succeeded him has been a mentee, following some sort of a grand roadmap which Tinubu himself had laid for them. The one who dared to find his own path was quickly removed from office. In fact, in June 2022, during his famous speech where he claimed it was his turn to be president, Tinubu told the people of Ogun State that he installed their state governor. No kidding. He also bragged about how he helped President Muhammadu Buhari clinch the presidency in 2015 after 3 unsuccessful attempts. Now, in trying to justify his influence over politics in Lagos and the southwestern region of Nigeria, Tinubu in 2015 described himself as a talent hunter that puts talents into office. There is no doubt that it was his political influence that led to the merger of opposition parties in 2013, an act that brought about the ruling APC, which installed Muhammadu Buhari as Nigeria's president in the election that got rid of Jonathan and PDP. Little wonder then why Tinubu wants to be repaid with the presidency for his political scheming and what have you. But here's the thing. Kingmakers don't always turn out to be kings. At least not in Nigeria. Following independence from Britain in 1960, the leader of the party with a majority in parliament was meant to become the first prime minister. This time it was Bela, the famous powerful politician and aristocrat from Sokoto. This position was his because he was the leader of the party with a majority in parliament. But he somehow declined the position. He instead nominated his protege Tafawa Balewa to take the position of prime minister. Another man who was a kingmaker that never became king was Obafemi Awolowo. Although not for lack of trying, in 1979 and 1983, the former finance minister failed in his quest to become president of Nigeria. And then there is late General Shehu Yaradua, who alongside dozens of other politicians were banned by the military administration of IBB from running for political office in the 1993 elections. So we've had one who didn't want it, another who failed in his bid to get it, and finally one who was stopped from even trying. But in Tinubu's case, he wants it, he is going for it, and is daring anyone to try and stop him, which I must say is scary. Now, while Tinubu wanting to end that record is nothing bad, his records and demons from his past seems to be too ugly for Nigerians to ignore. Lagos has been hailed as the most viable economy in Nigeria. As a standalone country, it would be among Africa's top 10 economies. But Tinubu cannot take credit for all that growth now. Tinubu is credited with increasing the city's revenue while taxing the hell out of the residents. And this he had done with the help of touts, popularly referred to as Agbero. He is also credited with embarking on an infrastructure drive that sort of built Lagos into what it is now. But this is the same Lagos with the worst pollution in Nigeria, worst traffic gridlock in Nigeria, and very poor standard of living for the middle class who he expects to vote for him. This is Lateef Jakande. He was governor of Lagos State between 1979 and 1983. Many analysts believe he laid the foundations of what Lagos is today. So, contrary to what Tinubu wants people to believe, Lagos didn't start when he won election in 1999. There was Lagos even before he arrived at the political scene in 1992. And for those wanting to point at the infrastructure, calm down. Calm down. Lagos was once the federal capital of Nigeria and was being developed before Tinubu decided to run for office. So this is where I announced the making of a video about who really built Lagos. I think I need to do that. Now, it is also good to mention that the Lagos everyone is bragging about building has a lot of issues, like the slums, which are amongst the worst in Nigeria. There is also the annual flooding of areas of the state due to poor planning and illegal allocation of lands to well-connected people, a story I will get into in a video about the Lagos housing scam. So, this is basically the Lagos Bela Tinubu built, and one he has been campaigning with. While we have these pictures as his achievements, we should also try to ask for these ones too. He can't have one without the other, you know? But more than anything though, the biggest roadblocks to Tinubu's claim to the highest office in Nigeria are the demons from his past.
Chaos is easy to bring normalcy and redecorate.
While it is true that some controversies during election campaigns are simply misinformation by opponents meant to discredit the candidates, it is good to note that everything Tinubu is being accused of today has been following him since he first became governor of Lagos State in 1999. To get the full picture of these allegations, watch this video I will link right up here. This is Festus Kayamo. He may be speaking for Tinubu today and defending him with all his being, but he wasn't always that way. There was a time when he was actively fighting Tinubu over his perjury allegations. But like a wise man once said, there are no permanent friends or enemies in politics. There have also been multiple allegations of state capture and tax evasion leveled against Tinubu from his time as governor. He could not be prosecuted due to the immunity he enjoyed as state governor, of course. But in 2011, he was acquitted by the Code of Conduct Bureau over prosecutorial misconduct after the federal government accused him of illegally operating foreign accounts when he was governor. And while his alleged indictment by the US government over trading of narcotics, which eventually led to the forfeiture of around $460,000, has been denied severely by his associates, the allegations have refused to go away. Dapo Apara, an accountant at Alpha Beta, a firm where Mr. Tinubu is alleged to hold stakes, accused him of using the firm for money laundering, fraud, tax evasion, and other corrupt practices. Mr. Tinubu was sued despite him and Alpha Beta denying the allegations. But all parties decided to settle out of court for a case they denied exists. You see, Tinubu's wealth has been questioned time and again, but he has always given multiple denials to all allegations of corruption. When asked about his source of wealth, he said he inherited real estate which he later reinvested, but then later he said he became an instant millionaire when working for an accounting firm. But then later again he said he was able to save up to $1.8 million from his wages. So which is it? For someone that left public office since 2007 and has no other job, The brazen display of wealth is, I think, questionable. But those are not all the questions you should ask before you vote in the coming election. President Muhammadu Buhari spent a total of 237 days abroad on medical leaves. That is more than 7 months spent in hospitals abroad. For a country as sick as Nigeria, the last thing people want is a sick president who embarks on medical tourism throughout his administration. So, that is Tinubu. Now, let's talk about his former political associate, Atiku Abubakar.
If you know honestly you are going to vote for PDP, can you raise your hand? Oh my God.
While my video about Atiku's involvement in some pretty serious corruption allegations in the United States gained a lot of attention, I must say there's so much more to the man himself that I couldn't cover in those videos. Let's start with his ambition. 2023 will be the 6th time Atiku is trying to be Nigeria's president. His journey started in 1992. You see, in 1989, Mr. Atiku decided to quit the civil service and dedicate himself to politics. This was when he made his first presidential run in 1992 as a candidate for the faction of a political party headed by Shehu Yaradua. He would later step down after coming third in the first round. The whole election was later cancelled by General Babangida's military administration. But since that time, Atiku has never looked back. While many have hailed him as a business genius because of the incredible growth of Intel, a company I talked about in this video right up here, the growth of that company had little to nothing to do with Atiku Abubakar, as his involvement was somewhat limited. But he can point to his several other investments as well as his exploits in Obasanjo's administration as reasons why you should vote for him. And this is something he has really been campaigning with. As vice president between 1999 and 2007, Atiku was head of the government's economic team, which oversaw wide reforms in the telecommunications, pensions, and banking sectors. These reforms led to more jobs for Nigerians and GDP growth for the country. Atiku has been involved in Nigerian elections for decades and has recently fluctuated between the two dominant parties, that is the APC and PDP, in his quest to achieve his lifelong ambition of becoming Nigeria's president. But unlike Tinubu, he has not been that successful. During his tenure as Nigeria's vice president between 1999 and 2007, Abubakar opposed the wave of adoption of Islamic law across parts of the country's Muslim-majority north. He was the highest profile Muslim politician from the region to have done so, something the North still hold against him till date. He has often tried to portray himself as a moderate in a political climate clouded with many extremists. This has made the North always pick an alternative to him in every election. Following my last video, some people tried to point out to me how Atiku saved Nigeria's democracy from Obasanjo during the agitation for a third term. But the truth is that Atiku went against his boss not because he cared so much about Nigeria's democracy, but because he wanted to be president, and Obasanjo's third term agenda was standing in the way of that. He was often seen as a divisive and disruptive figure during his time as Obasanjo's vice president, with many claiming that he constantly sought to carve a larger role for the office of the vice president. Atiku over the years has made many promises just to be able to grab power, like the promise to set aside $10 billion to empower women and young men in business. Critics have questioned his implementation plans, rightly pointing to the privatization of government properties under his watch during Obasanjo's administration. In 2006, the FBI raided Atiku Abubakar's home in Maryland, United States, for evidence related to his alleged bribing by William Jefferson, a US congressman, in exchange for help with contracts in Nigeria, an allegation he had since denied. His first exit from the PDP in 2006 coincided with an investigation into his record as vice president, when he was accused of diverting $125 million worth of public funds towards his personal business interests. Similar charges appeared in a 2010 US Senate report, which accused Mr. Abubakar of having transferred $40 million of suspect funds to the US using his American wife's bank account. More details can be found in this video I've linked here for you. But corruption is not the only thing standing in Atiku's way now. Atiku is currently 76 years old. By the time he is done with his first term in office, he will be over 80 years old. While he has promised to not seek re-election in the past, a lot can change when you become president. And even though he has not made the sort of blunders on stage that Tinubu has used to turn himself into Comedian of the Year contender, Atiku is still seen as a health risk for a country fighting on so many fronts to save itself. Now add that to corruption, and there we have Atiku Abubakar. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Peter Obi has been labeled as a political impostor, one of many who spring up at election time with delusions of being a third force that will wrestle power away from the traditional parties. There have also been questions about whether he truly represents a break from the corruption he has often criticized. This was because his name popped up in the leaked Pandora Papers, which exposed the hidden wealth of the rich and powerful in 2021. When this leak happened, President Muhammadu Buhari asked the EFCC and other agencies to investigate all those named from Nigeria, and Peter Obi was reportedly questioned and later released as nothing was found on him. While Peter Obi was not accused of stealing money, he had failed to declare offshore accounts and assets held by family members. This was why he was mentioned in the Pandora Papers. Peter Obi is definitely not a saint, as many of his critics will like to point out, but he is a politician with no record of corruption, which is a very rare thing in a country like Nigeria. This has caused people to raise the bar very high when it comes to assessing his chances of ever becoming president. While others are being investigated for fraud and corruption, falsifying of age, alleged dealing in narcotics, and many more, Peter Obi is being assessed based on his tribe, his frugality, and his choice of a political party. One the established politicians have questioned time and again for lack of structure. With Peter Obi, the question has never been about competence. Some have said he is not different from the other politicians, but the same people have failed to point out a single allegation of corruption against him. Some have claimed he should wait for his time, but the question is, when will that be? Others have simply berated Obi and his supporters because, according to them, the party has no structure to win and rule Nigeria. 2023 is an election that will determine the future of Nigeria. But somehow, for same election, people are having to judge candidates not on merit, not on competence, not even on integrity, but party structure, tribe, and something called a milocon. So, there we have it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. No matter where you stand, one of these will be Nigeria's reality after the 25th of February 2023. Again, I leave you with this question. Who is the good? Whose victory will be bad? And what scenario will be considered ugly for the largest black nation on earth? Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video.